Well, there are three items here that don't really fall into the pointy category that I forgot in my last video. So where should we start? This is Peacemaker. She is my own make, was a raw piece of hazel when I got hold of her. Basically, I occasionally have trouble with my ankle. The legacy of a motorcycle accident I had in the 90s. Nothing serious, it's just the muscles become misaligned. I think it has something to do with the hypermobility I have as well. But anyway, she is, I made her 3 years ago now, I think. The wood is good, solid and preserved. No sign of cracking. That's a belt from a charity shop, leatherwork. You know, bought that for about £1.50 or something. That's a real piece of deer spine. There was a fox's jawbone on here, but I've got that in my pocket now. You know, and that is an acrylic raven skull, because the real thing wouldn't last 5 minutes because bird skulls are rather delicate. I often take her on walks with me. She can discourage aggressive behaviour by idiots, just by the fact that I'm holding it. So that's why I call her Peacemaker. She has the runes for H rune, Haglaz, or Howard, or Halfdan if you prefer. And the T rune for Tyr, god of justice and war. So yeah. I think she's a cross between a walking stick, a countryman's cudgel, and what the Japanese would call a bokken, a wooden practice sword. I have more hazel cudgels seasoning in my garage at the moment, and I fully intend to make something out of them. I have a friend who wants me to make him a walking stick. I've got to bring in some samples for him at some point. Someone who I know through Ipswich Community Hub, where I used to volunteer. I'm now a civilian. But there you go. Here is another example of my creativity occasionally when I feel like it. This was a piece of American cedar I discovered in the local park that I think had been used as a dog chew stick. I shaped it with power tools because at that time my angle grinder still worked. I'm reduced to manual tools these days for most of the time. Pheasant feather, various other feathers. There is a scorpion claw there that's real. Used to belong to one of my old pets. I went for a kind of like Egyptian theme on this one. That's real snake skin. That's why it's gradually being worn away, because it's very delicate, because it's shed skin rather than, you know, stripped from the animal. So it only has one layer. That used to belong to my hognose snake that I had. Lovely animals. So yeah, American cedar apparently is imported to Japan, and they use it to build their Shinto shrines because it's very hard wearing, very lightweight, and good construction material. So there you go. Oh. This is not my own work. This is a sub-Saharan African war club known as a Knobkerrie. It was used most famously by tribes like the Zulu, and indeed others. This was brought back from Botswana by my father's oldest brother. We think he may well have been presented with it as a gift. They're also known as swagger sticks. They were given to young men as a rite of passage and a mark of the transformation from a boy to a warrior, to a man. They're also used by shamans in the process of healing magic, from what I've heard, possibly other magic as well. This one we think may well be early 20th century, from what I've been told by people who know their business. Many thanks to Matt Easton's channel, Schola Gladiatoria, sorry Matt, for providing me with information. He does a whole video on the history of these things that is very informative and at times very funny. Because I take this fact directly from his channel. Apparently, in the days when, in the mid to late 19th century, when Botswana was a British colony, whenever there was a revolution or an uprising, these things would be used to lethal effect against British troops. Because not only would they use them, ironwood, like that, they could also throw them. They would throw them at animals as well. They would use these to hunt. And because, as Matt Easton himself says, they're spherical, that means all the force, if it, is going at one point there to there. Ouch. And only made of local wood. So basically, anyway, as I was saying, got distracted then. Excuse me. The British eventually made a rule that you could only legally own one of these if you could fit, here we go, the knob in your mouth. No, that's not happening, is it? So many examples from that period have a lot smaller knob. Oh dear, I'm such a child. But no, it has a crack running up it. So I think its fighting days are over. And that may mean it, before my Uncle Tony owned it, it may well have seen action, either for hunting or something darker. It was passed down to my father, who for a while, because he was as bad as me, had it down by the sofa. My mother hated it, so after my father passed, she was perfectly happy for me to take possession of it, and I've owned it ever since. I like it. It's a piece of cultural history from an area of the world that I do not know that much about, I must admit. It's not my specialty, but it's another item that a warrior would be proud to possess, and it's an example of how even wood can become a fairly lethal weapon. You can tell that's old, can't you? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I think that's just about the extent of my collection now, at the moment. Hopefully, because the weather seems all right later on this afternoon, I might do another training video if that would be approved of by people. All right, fellow Metal Knights and YouTubers, take care.